I work graveyard at a convenience store in a small town. This guy that I had never seen before came in several times one night, buying random stuff. I noticed that he had giant red and black stars tattooed on his arms, and thought that it must have been fresh and cheap because the outline was not healing well. I realized during his next visit that he was a picker. For those of you who don't know, a picker is a speed freak that gets high and picks at his or her skin. That's why those faces of meth people are all so scabby. This guy had clearly been up for a while, and the outline of those stars is getting more raggedy by the visit. During his final transaction, he's absent-mindedly picking at his tattoo, and I've been determinedly pretending not to look. Then, as we wait for his credit card payment to go through, this guy does something that completely broke my customer service reflex. He gets this intense look on his face and slowly begins peeling a star chunk out of his arm off. This is no tiny tat. If you drew a circle around the points of the star, it would have been nearly the circumference of a 32-ounce fountain drinking cup. And he's got like half of it peeled right up his arm. The bright white flesh beneath glares at me for an instant, before flooding with blood, as I scream, "Jesus Christ, what are you doing?" 2 points of the star are no longer attached, and are flapping dangerously. He looks up slowly, eyes wide and totally vacant. He glances at the clock and says, 2:15? Too late for beer, huh? He stares at me for another moment, then picks up his tinfoil and walked out, never to be seen again. I was a campus security officer that worked night shifts by myself from 11 PM to 7 AM. The college campus, like many college campuses in the States, used to be military forts. This one had been around since the Revolution. Started as a wooden fort, then in the Civil War was a granite block fort. By World War I and II, it was an impressive dirt and concrete stronghold with massive artillery batteries and hidden tunnels crossing the campus. It had a bloody past, with people dying of disease and one guy being shot for mutiny. Many of the old brick buildings were still standing, including the old hospital, barracks, and officers' house. The hospital and barracks are now classrooms, while the officers' house was converted into a hotel where people could pay to stay, while students learning hosting, management, and drink mixing, interesting program to say the least, used to hone their skills. Now, on the night shift, you're alone. You have to go through all the 200-year-old buildings with nothing but a flashlight, phone, and set of keys, since the college didn't want security to have mace or anything. If you find a dumbass doing hard drugs, hope you can dial the police in time. That's a story for another day. So one night, someone left the lights on the top floor of the hospital. The hospital is only 4 stories tall, and there were lights on in other places too, so I just took the stairs. As I closed the stairwell door behind me and made my way up the stairs, I heard a man asking me a question, within the stairwell, throwing the voice around. I couldn't make out what he asked, but I knew it came from the basement. I went down and couldn't find anyone. No radios, no sign of people, or anything. But it was very, very cold, and I felt dizzy. Looking back, I now realize what I was looking around in, and why nobody likes going down there. What do hospitals keep in the basement? The morgue. Now, an incident that happened in the hotel. The hotel was definitely the most haunted building. While you could hear voices and get chills in several other buildings, the hotel was the one where people would actually see apparitions, and I was lucky enough to see one too. That building scares me to this day, and I haven't been there in years. Footsteps when you're the only one there, mumbling from the basement, dragging sounds, you name it. The worst one I remember is hearing a child's laughter when I asked who was there, after making sure that I was alone. I noped out of there quickly. However, as scary as it was, I found, and still am, fascinated, and would keep going back. Sometimes I would be lucky and have another officer with me for the first couple of hours on shift. We'd go in, turn off the lights, and make sure the doors were locked. Then jokingly ask if anyone was left inside. One night, we got an answer, in the form of a dragging sound on the second floor and the sound of someone screaming, close and distant at the same time. We noped out of there. One of my last shifts, I was going through the hotel as two workers were finishing cleaning up. They were both downstairs, one with me, the other in the basement. As I was finishing making sure the doors were all locked so that they could just leave and close the doors behind them, I looked up at the second floor banister above the lobby, in time to see what looked like a woman in a black skirt and dark stockings and black heels walking from right to left, without any sound, and straight into the wall, where she melted and vanished. You guys are the only ones here? Yeah? No guests tonight at all? Nope. I walked around and confirmed that nobody else was in there. Nope. Done. I'm out. And that's just the hotel and hospital. There are still the stories I have of shadows running across the graveyard. Yes, there's a graveyard on campus. And there's soldiers staring at me from the top of the battlements. Shadows dancing around the machinery in the welding shop. And voices calling me from the darkness in the other buildings. But those are stories for another day.